Hello, welcome. This is Miss Burgess, and today we are going to do simple forms in 1-point perspective. And that the simplest form to do in 1-point perspective is cubes. So we're going to learn how to do cubes, not just three-dimensionally, but in perspective. So the first thing that we have to do in our paper is to decide where our vanishing point is going to be. So in this assignment, I want you to have your vanishing point in the center or as close to the center as possible. Now, this vanishing point, notice I have a very sharp pencil, by the way. Let it get in focus. There we go. The vanishing point, I make pretty big. That's kind of a dot. It's really a point. I make it that big so you can see it on the video. But a point, a tiny little point like that is sufficient, as long as you can see it. Matter of fact, the smaller the dot, the more accurate your lines are when we go to do our diagonal and converging lines. So something to think about. Next thing, so we have our vanishing point. Next thing, the horizon line. The horizon line has to go through the vanishing point, right? Remember that from the vocabulary. It has to go through the vanishing point. And I want it to be horizontal. So I'm going to do my best to make sure I'm looking at this edge and I'm lining up this edge to make sure that it's as horizontal to the paper as possible. That'll keep everything looking normal, especially when we start doing like a city. If your horizontal line is diagonal, your city will look like it's falling into the ocean. So here I have my horizontal line. I have my vanishing point. So this is our horizontal line. Now I'm putting HL. Okay, so next step in your instructions, you have to make a cube above the horizon line, on the horizon line, and below the horizon line. So what we're going to do is that step, that whole process, so you can see it all the way through. Okay, so we're going to start by drawing a box. And craftsmanship in 1-point perspective is so important, because if your lines are sloppy, it makes it harder on you in the long run. So I'm going to start by drawing just a box, and it's okay if it's not a perfect square. I'm calling it a cube, and I know cubes are perfect, squares that are three-dimensional, but it really just needs to be a rectangle. But what you do want is to make sure that these lines are parallel and that the lines on top are parallel. So one of the things I do is I take my ruler, I'm going to drag it to the top, but see how I start down here and drag it, and then I'm going to draw that line. And what's going to happen is I have that excess right here. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that excess because I don't need it. And instead of trying to connect it and have a crooked line, because see how these lines are parallel, 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 parallel. That's important to have that happen, okay? Again, it does not matter if it's not square, it could be a rectangle, but it does need to be rectangle, parallel, parallel. All right, so now I'm going to find the points. Here is a point, here is a point, here is a point, and here is a point, okay? And I'm just pointing those out. Get the point? All right, so now I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to connect those dots to my vanishing point, okay? You want to draw light. All these lines are called working lines. I draw heavier than you need so you can see on the video. You really want them to be light, or else you're going to be erasing really hard and they show up. So draw light. So now I'm going to line up this point. This is not going to be parallel. This is going to converge to my vanishing point. So notice how I take this ruler, I line it up, I put it to that point, and now I draw my line to that vanishing point. Okay, you want them all to go now to that vanishing point. I'm sorry. Now as I take this line, I'm going to take this point, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line up those 2 points. I'm actually going to line up those 2 points. So here we go. Again, draw light. I'm drawing heavier so you can see. Now here's the question, do we really need all 4 points? A good rule of thumb is if the point goes through the object you are drawing, then you don't need it. So if I were to draw this little line here, I don't need this line. And that's going to make sense in a second. I'm going to do a dotted line so you can see it. but I don't need this line because it's going through the object right there. Okay, so I don't need that object, that line. All right, so now I have a box that is shooting out from the vanishing point. It's like it's been rocketed out from the vanishing point coming off the page. But I want it to be a cube or a box. I want it to be having a back. So I'm going to have to draw the back. So when we talk about finishing your shapes or your forms, we're talking about making sure that you have all the lines that you need, not just the main lines or the main shape and the converging lines. So I'm going to decide how thick my box is going to be. It doesn't matter if it's super thin or if it's fat. It is up to you. That is your call. I'm going to do kind of an average. And notice how I lined my ruler up. I dragged it back. That makes it parallel. That's how I can make it parallel. It can be very difficult sometimes to eyeball that step. And so by doing things that help you see that transition, you have better luck at it. But even me, I've done this for years, and it can be hard to make a straight line. So doing those tricks are very helpful. So I have to do the same thing at the bottom. Now, it does matter how thick the bottom is because I've already decided the thickness from the side. So now I have to drag this straight down, line it up, drag it straight down until I get to the corner, until I get to the point that it stops on. And now I can draw my line. All right, and now I have a box. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I need to erase all the working lines. These lines right here, I don't need in my box. So I have to erase those. So I'm going to erase that. I'm going to have to get a new eraser for my pencil at this point. And I recommend erasers like white erasers and magic rub erasers. Those work really well. So if you have one of those for this project, because we do so much erasing, I highly recommend that. And as we start getting more, you'll see that I'll grab one. Right now I'm using my pencil because this is a practice, but you'll see me talk about that. All right, I have a box, and I really don't need this demo line either. I'm going to go ahead and take that little guy away. So I have a nice little box. Okay, so the next box has to be on the horizon line. Okay, it cannot be on the vanishing point, so it can't be here, but it has to be over here. So I'm going to start the same way. I'm going to draw a box. It's going to go above and below. It is not going to stop on the horizon line. It's going to go above and below. And now I'm going to make this one skinny because I don't have a lot of space. So it's going to be a skinny box. And now I'm going to take my ruler, line it up, drag it over to the end of my line. That way it's nice and straight. It just helps me see the line straightness. I hit it with my arm, so I had to do it again. There we go. I got that nice and straight. All right, I'm going to do that again now. From the bottom, line this up, drag it up. I'm going to pick one of those lines to stop at. There you go. And this time they were more even. I just got lucky and they were more even. What you don't want to do is have a line longer and then try to connect them just because you drew one longer. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that they are truly parallel. Truly parallel. Okay? All right. I'm going to go ahead and erase this line so we don't get confused because my box is not transparent. So I'm going to erase part of that horizon line. And I'm going to do the same thing. So again, let's point out that we have 4 points. Right? We have 4 points. So what's going to happen is I've got to decide which points I need to go to that vanishing point. And I'm going to repeat the same process I did over here. So when I line this point up with this point to the vanishing point, so I take my corner to the vanishing point and I draw my line. All right, it does not go through. I definitely need that one. I come over here, I do the same thing. Draw a line. Go to the vanishing point. Definitely need that one. Does not go through the object. Now, when I go to this point, look at that. It goes through. See how it goes through? I don't need that point. Unless this box was glass, I don't need that point. So if I come over here, I'm going to do that same test. Come over here. It goes through the object. I don't need that point, so I'm not going to draw that line. So this one is almost done. We have our shape where we've drawn the sides of the box, but now we need to finish it off because it's not shooting out from the vanishing point. I want an actual back to the form. So here I go. This one's simple. We can't see the top and we can't see the bottom, and I'm going to go over that here at the end after all three are done. I'm going to talk about that again. But as I do this, I'm going to drag. I'm going to make a skinny box like I said. So I'm here. I'm going to just go here. I can go there. I could have stopped here. I could have made it skinnier. I'm going to go about there. And I'm going to draw this line. Again, this line is parallel to this line. They have to be parallel to the sides that they're on. And now I don't need to erase that one. We need that one. Let me put it back. But I'm going to erase this guy. Don't need this guy. Don't need this guy. And I erase those. So now what I have is a box that I can only see one side to it. So this is on the right side of the paper, and notice that I see the left side of the box. Okay, this box is on the left side of the paper, and notice that I see the right side of the box. Okay, all right. Now the next box is going to be on the bottom below the horizon line, and I asked for it to be on the right side, so I'm going to put it right over here. So I'm going to draw a box. Again, make this line perpendicular so you have a nice square shape. You know, it's more box-like. You don't want it to be like a rhombus. I think a rhombus is more slanted. I could be wrong. I don't know, but you don't want it to be slanted. All right, so now I have a nice little box. Okay. Now I'm going to take this one. I'm going to do the same thing. I've got 4 points. And now I'm going to connect them to my vanishing point. So this guy, I know I need this guy because he's on the corner. So I'm going to draw that line. Same thing over here to the vanishing point. Draw that line. And over here to the vanishing point, need that. Oops, it shifted on me, guys. Did you see my ruler move? Quick ruler lesson. If you hold your ruler, I'm trying to avoid the camera, but if you hold it tight, it does much better than trying to tippy-toe it. But I'm trying to do that because of the camera. I don't want my hand all covering everything, but that's what we can do. All right, so here we go. Let me fix. Take two. Take two. Let's just do that one again. Come over here. Line that up. Done. All right. So I don't need this one. It's going through the box, right? I don't need that one. But I do need to finish this box off. So I'm going to decide. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put my ruler and line it up at the top of the box. Drag it so it's even because I want this line parallel to the edge that it matches. I'm going to come over here, drag it out to the corner, drag it out to that corner. All right, and now erase what I don't need. And I really think you should always remember as you're working, erase as you go. It gets very confusing when you start doing this a lot, when we start getting lots of shapes and forms on your paper, which you will be doing. We'll be doing lots of them. It'll be filling up the whole pages, and so it gets very complicated. So best practice is to erase as you go. Erase as you go. Okay, so vanishing point. Object's on the right. I see the left side of the box. Object is below the horizon line, so I see the top of the box. This box is above the horizon line, so I see the bottom of the box. So where your object is placed on the paper makes a difference on what side you see. So you cannot just draw the shapes that you think they look like. You have to go through all these steps that we're doing. And I know that for something simple like this, You think, some of you may not quite understand this concept and you try to fake it, and it may fool somebody for a minute, quick little minute when they look at it just real fast. But once you start really looking at it, it's not going to work. And as we get into more advanced shapes like letters and adding details, it makes a huge difference, and it'll all your errors will show up real quick. So you want to make sure that everything is going to that vanishing point. Trust it no matter what. Trust the angle. Don't try to make it look right. Okay, so this is the first project. This is step 1 to perspective. Step 1 to perspective. When you start doing this kind of stuff and you get this down, the next step starts to be easier, and then the next step is a lot easier. So this is worth practicing until you get it right. And that's a wrap for this assignment.